I just want to show you how menus and widgets work and what those are. So right now, the bottom half of the layout that we're going to build, there's the content area on the left, and then there's this right-hand side. That's a sidebar. And sidebars in WordPress, not only sidebars, but primarily sidebars in WordPress are filled with what are called widgets. And they're little blocks of content or information and functionality that's either provided by plugins or things that you create on your own, just because you want to put stuff in there. Okay, so here's some space over here that's where a sidebar could exist if we had anything in it. Right now, there's just the layout right now is just simple left and right, and that's how we've kind of built the structure, the bones of what we're going to be building the actual design out of. So I want to add, the events calendar. So I drag and drop. The other way you can do this too, which is really nice, when like this gets really long, or like, oh, I'm down here and then I got to drag it up there. You don't have to do that. You can just click on it and say, I'm going to add it to primary. And then it just pops it in there, instead of you having to pick it up and try to drag it all the way up the screen, which can be kind of a pain. Yeah, exactly. So here's my events calendar. I'm going to show 5 events, and I'm going to show football instead of all. And then if I go back here, there's my little calendar. And we're going to style that. So it's not showing on here. So here we go. So what it does is it marks the day that the events are available, and then it also shows a feed of up to however many number of things that you want to have below it. So it could be 12, it could be 2, whatever you want to do. And then if you click on that, the day, like if there's another day here, and I clicked on the 20th, and it would show everything on the 20th. Mm-hmm. And then if I want to get the details, I can actually click on this, and it takes me to the actual event. When you start to look at then, well, what else is over here? Where's that visual editor that I just added?
Bottom right.
There it is. It's the visual editor. This is what I was talking about. So it's like, here is some crazy and a link. So how do I make a link? Click the link. When this first pops up, it's like, oh great, now I need to know the URL of what I need. No. So there's a little drop down here that's linked to existing content. Once you open that, it's always open. I don't know why they hide it to begin with. This pulls everything from the website, absolutely everything, and it's text searchable. So I'm going to link to that event. And that's it. If I wanted to add an image in here, add media, grab this. I'm going to make it small. I don't want to link to anything. I'm going to float it to the left. I'm going to insert into the post. There you go. So if I save this.
So see how there's no like kind of spacing between the photo and the text?
Yep.
Is that just in this pic, like when it shows up, will it actually?
So with the, yes.
Oh, when you do your style sheets, that'll automatically.
Yes, we'll have, when you float an image, we'll say, oh, if it's floated to the left or right, it'll have spacing on this side and on the bottom, so all the text will wrap properly. And I can add a title. Okay. All right. And if I go back to breakfast, look at this. The one thing about widgets, there's no preview. Mm-hmm. So when you add something there, it's just there. So you have to be aware of like where you're putting it and check it and just tweak it, and it's usually pretty seamless. Like people aren't hammering it so much that they're like, oh, what's going on with that? They probably don't even notice for the most part. But you get used to that the more you work with it, kind of deal. And if I wanted that to be above that, I can just pick it up and move it, and then that's it. So it updates the stack order.
So all right, this is probably a stupid question, but can you go back to that widgets page?
Mm-hmm.
So how, where it says primary,
Mhm.
how would I know by looking at this that that's going to go over on the right-hand side of that page?
What the
Because I have to know what the general layout of that page is.
yeah. So your page layouts for the entire site, it's basically going to be a content area, whereas like all the stuff in the breakfast page is that I created, which is on the left, and primary is on the right. What we will be able to do, and we'll do this for each site as we work through it a little bit more, is that we can create what are known as widget areas, and then we can assign the widget areas to a collection of pages and categories and any sort of combination of templates that you want to come up with. So you could have an events widget area. So like any event that you were looking at, the calendar page, anything that had to do with events could have its own separate sidebar versus a general information section or an about us section or the staff section. It's a how much specificity in terms of that real estate do you require, and we won't know that until we get more into the content rebuild and move over and stuff.
So assuming if I placed a widget in the footer area, it would go all the way across the span at the bottom?
The way we have the layout structured right now, it's 4.
This.
So what we'll do, just to make sure it's turned on. Yeah, no. It's not important. Don't worry about that. Footer. There we go. These are a lot of. There we go. So we've got 4 widgets.
Oh, okay.
We're using one sidebar, and actually I want to bump that up to 1,000. That's going to be. So these are just global options for the site. Like nobody should really be going in here and screwing around with this stuff.
That was my next.
This will be hidden from the
You're
vast
gonna-
majority of you.
You're gonna just establish them all so they're consistent, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
nobody does.
Right. We're basically going to be building the district site and a school site, and then from those 2 finished templates, we'll be creating copied versions and then making color palette adjustments, and that's it. So
So that
So the
footer
f-
1, footer 2, footer it doesn't go across the whole span of the bottom. It would be the column.
yep. So now we've got it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and then
Oh, I
so
see.
and then you can do the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
So you could do the events calendar there and do like 2. We're not going to add a filter. We'll just do everything. So again, it's very modular. It's very flexible because there isn't any height restriction. So that can get as long as you want. The footer can get as tall as you want. I mean, we're going to be trying to build in as much consistency as possible, but push comes to shove once we hand the keys over.
We can really mix it up.
It's your thing. You can do whatever you want with it, that's really the fun part. Let's do this really quick. For 2. Last one. How handy that comes in. Love that. Oh my god. They just added that in 3.9. Okay. Back to here. Oops. Here. So you can start to see, and again, it's a smaller space. The calendar condenses all even. It's it all fits where it's supposed to. You don't have to concern yourself with any of that. It's just like where do I want to put it. Based on how we have the layout there, this is going to be this would be just a text block. These could be text blocks or separate menus, which we're going to talk about next. And this will be a custom form that we'll be pulling from the email list sign up stuff. But pretty cool.
So you were on the breakfast and lunch page when you did that, but can you make those footers just consistent through
They are.
the whole school? So they are.
See?
Alright.
It's everywhere.
So
Now,
I can't customize to a specific page
you can.
something different for a footer?
You could. And that's where the widget areas comes into play. So like you can create an infinite amount of specific widget areas within the site. Now there's a plus and a minus to that. If you started creating a specific one for every page, and then you'd have like 100 widget areas that you'd have to try and like keep track of, which would be insane. But if you wanted to have one for a section, and you would go in and create it and then check off all the pages that it applies to. And then once something exists in that widget area, it overrides what the default is. If you took it away, it would just go back to the default. So again, it can be something you use at special instances and then turn it off and everything goes back to status quo. But we're kind of getting into more of the technical minutia of like what you're going to be doing after everything's kind of basically assembled. The goal initially here is that you guys are going to be going back to that site that you have set up and digging through all of this and being like, what are we taking over? What are we leaving behind? We need to make the pages. We need to create some post content. We need to get our events set up. We need to start building up the policy menu stuff. I mean, that's going to take time for you to do all that. And then also internally, how are those connected? Are there text links inside of each thing that point to other places? Because those links aren't going to be the same anymore. That's all going to be new page real estate. It's going to be a new site. So you guys got some fun weeks ahead. Yeah. Once you get in a rhythm to it, though, the last piece that I wanted to show you and to have something that you guys can continue to experiment with is the menuing, because that's something that you're going to be using all the time as this continues to evolve. Under Appearance, there's a link for menus. And right now there is no menu, so we're going to create one. We're going to call it Global Top Menu. And then that's just going to be the menu that's like at the top of the site on every page. So now that we have that menu, how do we add things to the menu? It's all of these different types of information on the left-hand side here. So I want to add pages, so I'm going to create that general info dropdown. Add that. And now to create the dropdown in the menu, all you do is drag this one indent. Maybe I want a home link. It's fine. And if I wanted this to fly out of that, I could do that, and then it would be like down and over and you can, till the cows come home. But again, that's the kind of thing where I would say, try and do it with no more than the down and over, because then things get really hard to use, especially when you get down to mobile and it condenses the menu into a big hierarchical list, and then you've got stuff that's like what, it just gets exactly. So that's how you move these things around, and then once they're grouped this way too, you can pick up the whole chunk and reorder it that way too, which is nice. So I'm going to save that menu. And menu items themselves, it's not just pages. You could link to specific events via category. You could create links via venue, and that would show you the archive via venue. You could do it by organizers. You can create your own custom links. So if you wanted to link to a PDF or document or some other external website for whatever reason from your menu, you can do that. You can link to categories of posts and event categories. There are some other options up here, like Well, you're not using the portfolio, so you wouldn't want that. But tags, if you wanted to link to a tag, you could have that. If you wanted to create drop downs for like the positions and department types under the staff post type, you could do that as well. You wouldn't do slides. You could do staff if you wanted to, posts. You could link to specific posts. So there's a whole slew of options for you there. And then once you have the stuff in here, just because the page is called general information, I can change the label of that without changing the title and name of the page. It just affects the display of the menu. Yeah, absolutely.
So what about that mega menu that you had showed us? Are we not doing that, or is that something different?
You are doing that, and I'm going to, that gets added on top of what's here. So the basic functionality of how you organize the menu here is identical either way. And it's going to be easier for us to manipulate the big flyout menu once you've got all the basics in there. So I don't want to throw too much at you all at once.
I know.
I don't know.
Now, the whole menu thing is where I go. Oh my God.
So
Someone else.
that's so I'm gonna stop this, and then we can really get into questions and stuff.